would please stand for the prayer and pledge.
Father in heaven, bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in the face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Thy will be done. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call this Hancock County Commission to order. This 18th day of August, 2016, exactly 2:30 p.m. County Commission item Roman number 1, approval of minutes. Approval of Commission minute meetings for August 4th, 2016.
Move to approve.
Discussion? Corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If we would, I'd like to remind everyone to please turn off your cell phones or cellular devices, including myself here. Thank you for that. Citizens' presentations today. I'd like to remind you that under the citizens' presentations, this is a regular business meeting. Please keep your comments short and concise since we have so many speakers. This is not a question and answer. This is not a court of law. And again, stick to the 3 minutes. Let's keep church and state separated this week. And again, to the point. Okay? Thank you. When I call your name, if you would, step up to the mic. Spell your last name because Mr. Smith has a hard time with that, and the floor will be yours. First of all, we have Greg Carano, General Manager, the new General Manager, Mountaineer Casino, Racetrack, and Resort.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner, and thank you very much. My name is Greg Carano, Greggcarano. I'm the new General Manager at the Mountaineer Resort and Racetrack. I'm from Reno, Nevada. I've been living in Hancock County for a month now, and I love it. I saw some of you out at our Derby and West Virginia Derby a couple weeks ago, and it was a great day. It was one of our best derbies in a number of years. So, my family has been in the casino business since 1967 in Reno, Nevada. That's not Las Vegas. We're 7 hours north by car and right next to Lake Tahoe. And 2 years ago, my family went public and merged with MTR Gaming. My dad founded the El Dorado Resorts back in 1973. And when we went public, when we were about to go public and merge with MTR Gaming, I asked my dad if I could, for 5 years, come out to West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. And I've been visiting our property out here for almost 3 years now, and doesn't mean I only have 2 years left. I don't know what my drop dead date is to be. Right now I'm living in West Virginia at the hotel. And if you haven't been out to our property, you can see what El Dorado Resorts. My brother's chairman of the board, and I think you've met him before. And his nephew, Anthony, is, his son, my nephew, is Anthony Carano. And all I have to say is I'm excited. I've called the Mountaineer the jewel on the river, and I don't know if anybody else has used that, but I truly believe it is. And our number one focus is we understand what Pennsylvania and Ohio and the smoking ban and Austintown has done to our business. But our number one focus is to raise revenues for our county and our casino here. I appreciate you letting me come and take my 3 minutes. I've never spoken in 3 minutes or less, so I hope you got me timed. And if I can ever do anything for you, please call the Mountaineer and ask for Greg. Thank you all. If you have any questions,
I have a question and a comment. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
And if you're looking for a house, Hancock County would be a great place for you to live.
Yeah.
And if you need a tour guide, we will gladly take you around the county.
Thank you very
and
much.
And show you some places. I
I've
did
been
that to Mr. Favre, by the way, 2 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, I gave him a little tour of Hancock.
Did you?
To look at houses, yeah.
I'm one of these people that I get out in our community since I'm a driver, and I've been one of our ladies that ran advertising that moved up to Presque Isle Downs about 8 years ago, Jennifer C. I was looking at her house the other day, but I don't think anybody's lived in it for 7 months. So the foliage, all the trees have grown over the driveway, so I couldn't get up to it. But no, I've been looking around, so I surely appreciate you offering, show me your great community. But I want to see more than just a house. As I really like, my whole thing is meeting the people in the community. So I appreciate it. Any other questions?
No, but welcome aboard, and
Thank you.
you guys do a nice job up there, and hope we see it grow.
Yeah.
Hope we see it grow.
We do. Our people do a great job. There's so much competition, and our number one focus is just to do a better job. If you come in and see how much money we've spent in the property, and we're going to continue to put money in the property, and with our capital expenditures each and every year, and you'll see a mountain there that is. On Fridays and Saturday nights, I put a DJ on the casino floor, playing music, not for my son, who's about 25, but for people around my age, and it's really created a nice, vibrant place on the casino floor. So I thank the sheriff and his gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, that take good care of us out there also. So thank you. Have a nice
Thanks,
afternoon,
Dave.
y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker B, Fred Miller, citizen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fred Miller, F-R-E-D-M-I-L-L-E-R, 193 Dome Drive, New Cumberland. That's Gas Valley Road. We are the farm immediately adjacent to the county farm where the animal shelter is located. At the last two meetings, speakers for the foundation said that they were mystified as to why the commission has not been able to give them the terms that they want. They gave them the contract that they felt like they couldn't agree to. It is not happy with the way they've been running the place. I think if you look at the statements that the commissioners have made, they've made it very clear as to why they offered the contract the way they did, and that is because the foundation was not running the shelter the way they wanted it to be run. That's a very short way to say that. If you look at the contract itself, one clause that jumped out at me was the one that said that if the operators did not follow the guidelines on euthanasia, then the commissioners reserve the right to come in and perform euthanasia themselves. Now that tells you that they had no faith in that even if the foundation signed the contract, that they would fulfill the terms of the contract. This means that they have lost faith completely in the leadership of the foundation, and that they did not believe the foundation would do what they wanted to have done at the shelter. The nub of the matter is the narrow definition of euthanasia that they say is only for relief of medical pain and suffering. If you look up, if you Google euthanasia, on the human side it talks about that. But if you look up animal euthanasia, there are plenty of other reasons for euthanasia, including overcrowding and an inability to care for animals, and keeping animals for an indefinite period of time in a cage. What the no-kill shelter does, or low-kill shelter does, is it promotes overcrowding. It leads to waiting lists. One speaker said every shelter in the valley has waiting lists, which means that people are turned away with animals. This means they dispose of the animal themselves or let it out. This has exactly the opposite effect.
30 seconds.
Thank you. This also means that they would not kill an animal that was vicious, just if it was healthy, or if it was feral, or if it had a medical treatment that was chronic that they could contain, or relieve with an expensive treatment, which kind of explains why they had a $390,000 budget last year. I think you're going to see the shelter run in a very efficient manner at a lower cost by the commissioners. And my request to the foundation is to give up this fight. You're only hurting the cause that you seek to promote, which is the welfare of the animals. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann Zoomer Reese, citizen.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Ann Zoomer Reese, M-A-R-Y, capital A-N-N, Z-U-M-E-R-R-E-E-S-E. My intent in speaking is not only to express undeniable facts and positive reasoning, but propose thought-provoking inspiration for rightful and moral action. I have a relative who was a county employee and sat in one of these political positions. This person is of high moral, honest, and ethical integrity. A recent conversation was had. I am not totally ignorant of policy implementation, how decisions are made, funding is distributed, or how personal motives have influence. There was no indication of any wrongdoing or allegations of irresponsibility against the foundation. Actually, commendation was extended for efficiency in maintaining the shelter all those years. This person was quite perplexed why the commissioners would want the responsibility over the animal shelter. Would not have been in favor of the levy if had known of commissioners' intent to take over. Suppositions are had by all. As I mentioned last meeting, the community can only deduce two speculations to the takeover. One, possible personal vendetta against the foundation or specific members incurred from the I don't care attitude, or they teed off the wrong person's stance. Or two, knowledge of large sums of money in account available to propose minimal renovations, then reallocate to other own agendas. The levy specifically says, and I quote, if any additional levies exceed the approximate sum of $250,000, the amount in excess of said approximate sum shall be transferred to the general fund of said county for expenditure by county for recreational purposes only, which I'm not sure what recreational purposes mean. My relative also believed the current humane officer could never euthanize healthy animals because of numbers, and contended she would resign before complying to those orders. Have you ever held an animal to be put down? I worked for a vet for 3 months and cried over each one I was instructed to hold as they were injected. Then bodies put into bags, put into the freezer, and then thrown into the dumpster on garbage day. How would anyone with a heart take a healthy animal that's wagging its tail and looking at you, perfectly healthy, and kill it with no remorse? The ones I watched put down were dying, seriously ill, or injured, and still I couldn't handle that deliberate act.
30 seconds.
Well, with all due respect, please allow me. It's
No,
short.
We're going to stick to it today. We have too many speakers.
I'm aware of the budget amounts and where it stands now, and when cut in half. The levy sustains mainly salaries of paid employees. I'm afraid that people are going to feel confident that the animals are being cared for and all is okay. But how are the animals going to be cared for when the budget is half of the previous allowance and no money is coming in for adoptions or fundraisers? People are not going to extend donations as willingly before due to trust issues. It was heard that there was going to be a free adoption this weekend. How can that be permitted? If there's no screening for these adoptions, are you aware of the potential types of opportunists this will invite? People looking for lab dissection or experimentations. Doesn't anybody remember the Jeffrey Nally case about 7 years ago when puppies were adopted out and they were mutilated? The
Time's up.
foundation has 20-year
Time's
track.
up. We have the right to run this meeting, and you have the responsibility to adhere to our rules. And we really need you to abide by that.
Okay, well, I implore
Thank
that you
you.
at least take into account and compromise.
Rudy Rosnick, citizen.
My name is Rudy Rosnick. I'm a citizen of Hancock County. You can spell my name R-U-D-Y-R-O-S-N-I-C-K. My wife and I visited the animal shelter yesterday and previously in mid-July. During our visits, the employees were friendly and the shelter was very clean. We noticed that even though it was the middle of the day, there were only 2 employees available to walk the dogs and also to socialize the cats. It should be noted that the foundation raised an average of $12,000 per month in adoption fees and community donations. That amounts to $144,000 a year for animal shelter operation. In July, it appears under commission management, the shelter raised less than $1,000. Again, less than $1,000, in adoption fees and community donations. I had problem even trying to verify that because they were telling me out at the shelter that they were charging $30 for adoptions, but Mr. Vitus informed me that there were no adoption fees, that there was just strictly whatever the individual wanted to donate, and they thought the animal was worth. So I don't even know how to verify the $1,000. But when you look at the difference of those numbers, what that means to the taxpayers of Hancock County is that it's going to cost us at least an additional $136,000, because the commission are running the shelter instead of having, quote, a nonprofit. During the last few weeks, the commission has been made aware of information that should have made them willing to update the new shelter operation contract and rebid the contract. Below are some of the discoveries that should have caused the reconsideration. First, the commission's misinterpretation, as presented by our delegate, of the state code regarding the selling or destroying of an animal. Second, understanding how close an agreement, that the attorneys were prior to that June 23rd meeting. I know Mr. Lucas disagrees with that statement, but I do believe there were discussions and it was close. The understanding that the new contract did not reflect the commission's stated beliefs in running a humane and low-kill shelter. All 3 of you have stated that. The willingness of the foundation to negotiate the waiting list concept. The public opposition to the commission operating the shelter. Again, would the excess levy have passed if people knew that the commission was going to take over the operation? There was 4,500 people. I know that the commissioners have told me they don't believe that 4,500 that signed that petition
30
reflects what the people want in this counties. For these reasons, I believe the commission intended to take over the shelter operation for some reason that they're not willing to tell the residents of Hancock County. The residents of Hancock County are asking why. Why does the commission want to operate the shelter? Based on the 4,500, again, residents that signed a petition asking the commission to negotiate with the foundation, the commission understands they are not doing what the residents expect. The residents and the animals of Hancock County cannot afford the arrogance displayed by this commission. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Carrie McIntyre, Secretary, Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation.
Carrie McIntyre, C-A-R-I-M-C-I-N-T-Y-R-E, Secretary for the Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation. I just wanted to try to come today because I think people need to understand that we are not coming to these meetings because our feelings are hurt, because we were picked on, or because we feel we have lost a battle. This shouldn't be about feelings, whether they're ours or yours. It should be about what is best for the animals and the citizens as a whole in this community. You've had a citizen here the last couple of times, and I take offense to some of the things that he said, and I just wanted to quickly just go through them today, 2 of those instances. He made a statement that we're acting like this came out of the clear blue sky, and he assures you that it did not. This person, as far as I know, never attended any of our foundation meetings, was never present at any meetings we had with the commission. If he had private meetings with you, we're not aware of them. So for him to assure anyone that this did not come out of the clear blue sky, it may not have come out of the clear blue sky to him, but it did to the foundation. We were not aware that this was going to happen. He also states that one instance that is not correct is that we are saying that there is one instance of that we were informed that cats, or there was a complaint about our waiting list. He says this is not correct. However, that is correct. If the commission has documentation that they informed us at any other time that there were instances of complaints at the shelter, we were not made aware of those. So if he informed someone, they were not passed along to us. So I wanted to make those two corrections. I feel that, if you were truly running the shelter as you stated originally, less than 3% euthanization of all animals entering the shelter, it would be a victory for us. It may have taken us 20 years to get you to that point, but finally we've swung you around to where we were. We would be proud of that fact. However, your numbers that were quoted at the last meeting aren't adding up. They don't reflect all the animals that are in your care. You showed 27 dogs and 74 cats coming in, which equals 101 animals. What's 3% of that? 3. Coincidentally, that's exactly the number that you stated you euthanized. But how many were killed? At that time, according to those numbers, there should have been about 15 dogs at the shelter and about 49 or 50 cats, if I did my math right. I'm pretty good at math. However, when I went to the shelter 2 days later on that Saturday, there were 11 dogs in your care, with 3 that had just come in, so about 14. You could have had some adoptions. However, the cats, I showed 12 in the cat room, which left about 37 or 38 cats unaccounted for. Now, the girl did explain to me that some of the cats were out for adoption at a local groomer's, I believe. However, my 20 years in dealing with the foundation and being in that building, I know the 2 other areas you keep cats. The area where you say that the cats had just come in and they're being stored because they haven't been released in the general population yet, and the area where you're receiving treatment. Those 2 rooms don't hold 37 cats, not humanely. So where are the rest of these animals? Again, 3 euthanasias, but how many have been killed? If you're really going to run the shelter the way you said you were going to, then do that. But if you're not accounting for all of the animals that are coming through those doors, be transparent with the public and be honest and tell them what you are doing. Don't lie to them. Thank you.
Ruth Ann Danford, Co-Treasurer, Hancock County Animal Shelter Foundation.
Hi, RUTHANNEDANFORD. I have a few issues I'd like to address today, but I'm going to start with my last one first. The Foundation has maintained records as far as the disposition of all animals, whether by adoption, euthanasia, sale, or otherwise, but the latest contract stated that the Foundation must now maintain a statement of costs assessed against each animal. At our very first meeting, after we were given a copy of the new contract, I asked Mr. Lucas what exactly they wanted for each animal as far as expenses, and he told me all costs associated with food, care, any testing, vaccinations, and any additional medical care. I tried to explain to him that this would be a very time-consuming amount of work. On August 2nd, I filed a FOIA request for information concerning the disposition of animals received during the month of July, including the assessment of the cost for each animal. I also requested the operating expenses for the month of July, and to date I have received no records. When the commissioners took over on July 1st, there were 2 dogs left in the shelter. It's not hard to clean and paint when there are no animals to care for. The Foundation made it extremely easy for you to assume operations of the shelter. It's been more than 2 weeks and you still have no data on my request. What happens when the shelter actually becomes full of animals? The next item I'd like to address is the issue with the furnace ducts. When the new system was installed, it was under contract with H.E. Newman, who came out monthly to change the filters and take care of any maintenance problems. At some time, the commissioners decided not to renew their service contract, and we were told that we had to purchase the filters ourselves and change them, which our employees did monthly. Several months ago, the commissioners obviously rehired H.E. Newman because they started coming back out to the shelter to change filters. Assuming they are under contract again, they would be accountable for any services. Any maintenance over $100 per our contract, such as cleaning the ductwork, was the responsibility of the commission. And lastly, at the end of the meeting last 2 weeks ago, Mr. Lucas made a comment, and I would like to read it to you verbatim. Mr. Lucas said, "If I may, if I'm not out of line, I have a question for Ms. Faluzas. You say that there was a mice problem. Well, what was that all about, Ms. Faluzas?" The building had a lot of mice droppings everywhere. There were a
30.
lot of mice everywhere. You could walk through and see mice scurrying out of the way. You could clean one day, and by the next morning you would have a whole dustpan of mice droppings in the same area. It goes on, but you get the idea. When the Commissioner's Council stoops to scripted theatrics, you have to question his motives. I had visited the shelter weekly over the years and never saw a mouse. I talked to Daryl McClellan, our director, about the scope of the problem, and he said that they would occasionally have to set a trap, but they would never catch more than 1 or 2 mice. The shelter sits in the middle of a rural area, and you are bound to have a few mice.
3.
Mr. Vitus, you were at the shelter. Did you ever have to scurry out of the way?
This
because
is
of
not
the
a
mice?
question and answer session. Thank you. Peggy Bonson, citizen. Oops, beat me to
That
it.
would be me.
Okay.
I'm Peggy Bonson, PeggybAhnsen, and thank you. I appreciate the commission allowing me to speak. I am in the house closest to the animal shelter. It's a farmhouse, and across the street from me is a barn. The exception to that is my nephew, who is some distance from the road. I have lived there 18 years. During that time, I have had several instances when I would go to the animal shelter. Most of them have been to take feral animals there. We have animals that are dropped at our barn, at our house. My husband saw a dachshund up on the hill. I had my nephew in the yard one day, my 2 nephews in the yard one day, and a little cat came into the yard. My nephew raced to get it. He picked it up and looked at the road. On the road was the sibling of that kitten. It was dead. It had been hit. I got my nephew, took him in the car, and we went down to the animal shelter, and I explained the situation to the people there. The 2 ladies who were there that day looked at me, and then they looked at each other. And they said, there were 2 women who were just here with those cats, and we told them we couldn't take them. So that's how I got those cats. Every other day, just about, I see animals that are dropped in front of my house, in front of my barn. We trap them. We try to take them to the animal shelter frequently. I took a cat there one day, was on my way out of town, and was told they'd put me on a waiting list. I said, I can't keep the cat. It's not mine. I'm leaving town. They said, no problem. We'll put you on the waiting list. I said, you don't understand. I live next door. I get cats all the time. I can't take care of this cats. I'm leaving town. They said, fine. We will put you on our waiting list. At that point, I said, I will have to destroy this cat if you don't take it. They jerked the carrier away from me and ran away. So they took the cat. But it was a very unpleasant situation. So, as I said, I've lived here 18 years. I've lived in that house 18 years. And in 18 years, we have had animals dropped. Today, I saw a black
30.
and white cat. Thank you. I have adopted 2 animals from the animal shelter. My husband has adopted 2 dogs from the animal shelter. We are not opposed to the animal shelter. We are only opposed to the fact that it doesn't serve the community. And I realize that I'm close by and I get most of the action, but I have heard the same comments from a number of my friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 3, correspondence. Teresa Chagrin, Animal Care and Control Specialist, Cruelty Investigations Department, PETA, letter of support. The letter is in the packet. It's a very lengthy letter. I am not going to read it, but it is in your packet there. Gentlemen, I'd call for a motion to make it a matter of record so it can be distributed through the communities and through the press.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, new business. County Commission approval of special meeting on September the 9th, 2016 for the adoption of the order to change precinct locations.
Move to approve. I have a question.
Question?
We have an official meeting. Well, no, we don't know that yet for sure, huh? Is that the
No, just by code, we have to have it on that day.
on that particular day?
Yes.
I should ask that first. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
The only thing we have to do is pick a time of that day.
Earlier the better for me.
Same.
Early or late?
Early.
Early. 8. George, does that create a problem? 8 doesn't create a problem for you guys?
Is that okay for you?
Yeah, well, no, it's good for me. So, the motion is to meet on 8 o'clock on September the 9th. Was that motion made?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2, approval to re-advertise on the county website for an open position on the Hancock County Health Board. Applicant must be a resident of Butler or Grant District.
Move to approve with a statement. This had been advertised previously, and it was put in a little bit too early because most of the terms expired at the end of July, and this term happened to have been filled and expired in September. So there were 3 applicants. They will not have to reapply, and we will get a hold of them and tell them, and then it is open to anybody else that would like to apply for this position. And what we've asked the Health Department is to keep us on an end of July 1 basis here on out, even if the term is for 4 years and 11 months, to get us back to square, so that every year there is an appointment or a reappointment made.
Further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 3, approval to re-advertise on the county website for 2 open positions on the Hancock County Park and Recreation Board.
Move to approve.
Discussion?
We did have we approved the last meeting for George Village to serve on the board, but his schedule has changed, and he is now resending his letter. So we still have 2 open positions.
Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of release of deed of trust deed for the following individual as a 5-year lien has lapsed. Adam J. McNally.
Move to approve.
Questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Response to questions of Carrie McIntyre and Carol Hicks as a matter of record.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. County Clerk, requesting approval of a new hearing date for the removal of an executrix of an estate.
Move to approve.
The parameters are must be on or after October the 6th and before October the 20th.
October 6th, our first meeting in October.
Correct.
October 20th is actually our second meeting.
Right. And generally we do them at 3:30.
You need at least 30 days notice. So the October dates are the ones that would work. September is probably not going to give you enough time to get effective service out with it here.
Okay.
Do you have any preference, 6 or 20?
No, I think they can be done either way.
Someone move.
Well, there's a motion on there too. I'll amend my motion to request the hearing for October the 6th at 3:30 p.m.
6. Further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sheriff's Department requesting approval of bid proposal for guns and accessory from Ray's Guns.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just one quick question. Was there any other bids submitted, Sheriff Fletcher?
Not that round, no, sir. We reached out to everybody that we could.
Well, I like this. It stayed in account.
Yes, sir.
Item 5, miscellaneous exoneration orders approval.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. General county bills, Karen?
General county bills are $141,801.78. P-card payments for all funds, $44,755.66.
Move to approve.
Discussions? Concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Fire allocation bills.
They're okay to pay.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Library levy, funds, bills, requisitions.
One library submitted. They're okay to pay.
One.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Elected officials, county commission. Karen, anything else?
No, sir, nothing today.
Counselor?
A couple points of housekeeping regarding some statements made by Ms. Danford. Regarding the FOIA request, it has conveniently been left off by Ms. Danford that the county responded to her in writing, that some of the information given that she had requested had actually already been stated at the record by Ms. Falusis at the last meeting. She then makes a point, Ms. Danford, to indicate that the county failed to provide her with her remaining information to this point. But what we stated in the letter to her, which we are allowed to do under a FOIA request, is that this is part of a monthly report. That report would have been for the month of July, which we would have had by state law to provide up to the end of August. Now, Ms. Danford should know this, because if she's been with the foundation this long and had run the shelter, or at least assisted in doing so for that period of time, she should have been aware that monthly reports can be submitted up to the end of the following month. State law indicates this. She leaves that off. I'm assuming, maybe perhaps, to give the impression that we're just not going to comply. I don't know. But that's what it seemed to indicate. So we have, as the letter stated, to the end of the month to give her that report, which we indicated in the letter in writing that the county would do, but she doesn't state this, and that report simply hadn't been compiled yet. I don't know why she didn't feel the need to mention that. The second point about theatrics. At the last meeting, Ms. Falusis, in giving her report, made among the information I just described that Ms. Danford had requested, had also advised the county of a mouse infestation. We were aware that because of the size of the infestation, the nest essentially was old. In other words, it had preceded July 1st, the date the county took over. That was the opinion of the exterminator who looked into it. When Ms. Falusis gave her report, what she indicated was, we have a mouse infestation. At least that's the way I took it. It seemed to be very glib and short. Well, being the county's attorney, it's part of my job. Well, let's not give her the wrong impression if the truth is otherwise. So I made sure that she indicated that, yes, it had pre-existed it, because otherwise people may think, and the allegations may fly, that it's the county's fault. When we had been told otherwise, it was not prescripted, it was not theatrics, it was simply getting the truth out there. Maybe someone doesn't like that truth, but that's their problem, not the county's. That's all I got.
Thank you. Sheriff?
Got nothing.
Nothing.
Not today, sir.
I'm writing. I want you to stall for me. I think I was right. Never mind, Sheriff. Okay, who's even here in the back? Carol? Oh, okay. Tracy's here. Carol. Okay.
4-H programs went really well this summer. Our camp was hot from Monday to Saturday. I think we had exactly 10 drops of rain. So it was really hot. But the kids did great with fantastic staff, a lot of awesome programming, including the Sheriff's Department that came out and brought some, we were doing some things like drug and alcohol prevention this year. They came out and worked with us. I really appreciated Sergeant Klein and Deputy Hissom coming out. They also had a little bit of fun with us in clearing up a mystery that had quote unquote happened at camp. So they did a fantastic job, and I really appreciate their support of camp. Cloverbud Camp continues to be about the most fun any human being can ever have. We had visits from a ferret, a water dragon, a pony, a kitten, a hamster, a rabbit, pygmy goats, snakes, chinchilla, a couple of turtles. I mean, it was and a couple of people. So we did a lot with care of animals, a lot with science. And we did not have the partridge in the pear tree this year. Trust me, the one little girl probably got that one. And we even learned a lot about the care of animals, like ponies. We had a great time. Adams Express went well. Again, a lot of the departments, including the sheriff, came out and ran with the kids. We were in 2 new sites this year at Wood Elementary and Allison Elementary. And those sites were, again, almost completely full. The work there is done primarily through AmeriCorps members receiving National Community Service for doing so. This year, West Virginia was recruited by AmeriCorps to take on a couple of new positions of youth AmeriCorps members, and we stepped up with that and had one at each site. So the kids did a great job. I'm very, very proud of them. The workforce development going on there through the AmeriCorps program is absolutely phenomenal. And also kudos to Hancock County Education. One of their students through the Culinary Arts Department is one of my 4-H members, and she volunteered to be the camp cook for Cloverbud Camp. And with the help of a couple other adults, did a fantastic job on the food. The kids this year ate just about the same food that we eat at Rainbow Camp. And it was, to make it simple, a great time. It's been had by all. And now we're all taking a little bit of time off in our office to recharge and get ready for fall.
Thank you. 911?
I just want to say that we're still taking applications for part-time dispatcher, so if anybody is interested, please come to the commission office and fill out an application for us. And we'll probably be doing some more telephone interviews, and then we'll be doing some personal interviews. So if anybody's out there interested, please apply.
Election office?
We are currently now accepting applications for absentee ballots. If anybody needs any, they can give us a call here at the office. We can mail them, or you can go onto the Secretary of State's website and you can print one out. We are going to have ballot draw on Tuesday, August the 30th at 9 a.m. All are welcome.
This Tuesday?
No, August the 30th.
What was the time?
9.
I'm sorry. How did I miss him?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add.
I'm sorry. No.
I will follow suit. I have nothing to say today.
Robert?
I have nothing either.
George?
Nothing else. You never have an answer.
You have to say something. We're not going any further until you say something. Commissioners?
I have a couple of things. I'll try to be brief. It's been brought up several times in some of the conversations going on, primarily with the animal shelter. One thing, and I stressed it last week because we're putting a levy out there for the Hancock County shelter workshop. Any levy money that's generated is in its own line item, and you can correct me however you do it in your books.
It's a separate fund.
It's separate fund. Any monies collected from that levy goes in that fund and can only be dispersed to that levy that it's forwarded to. And when you hear us at the end of the meeting, and when we do the approval of the fire allocations and bill requisitions and library levy and whatever else is on there, that's where that money's coming from. That's why it's like a 1, 2, 3, and we get through it, because it is designated for, per se, the library, and until they use all that money, that's theirs to spend. We don't have any right to take that money. We don't take that money.
Or spend it somewhere else.
You can believe it or not believe it. It's a law. Okay. The other issue that has been brought up is that we were very close to a settlement with the Shelter Foundation, and I'm not going to say negotiations didn't go on. There were negotiations. How close we ever got determined by whoever wants to believe what. There was a very upstanding community member that volunteered to do some mediation. We had met with him. He had met with them. We hashed out a couple things. It never got any closer than that. So I really don't think it was as close as some people think that it was. Okay? And we're not the bad guys up here. Okay? We called a special meeting for the Thursday before July 1 at 4:30, the end of the day, in hopes of something coming up that we would have been able to conduct business. And then we end up calling that meeting off because there was nothing there. But we give the notice in the beginning of the week that we would do that. So, did we try? Yes. Were we close? That's to be determined by whoever wants to believe what. I'm going to say no. And the other thing, we met with Lotus Communications this morning, trying to get some difficulties ironed up. Jeremy, they spoke highly of your efforts, and Rob and Tracy, and we're hoping that we're going to move up the ladder a little bit. We asked them to prioritize a couple different items, and hopefully we're going to get that corrected, particularly the static. And they explained to us why that one little half a second occurs. I find that hard to believe that can't be corrected, but I guess I'll have to take the technology word. That just seems like that ain't right. But if there's nothing they can do, then I guess we have to live with it. So, and we're going to keep updated, and we've invited somebody to come back and keep us posted on how far they're going. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Before I forget, Tracy, I got to catch you before you leave. One of the things I'd like to talk about just this past week was the celebration of the Teapot in Chester. It was a nice event. A lot of folks were there. Rain came and went, but overall it was a nice day, and a lot of good volunteers participated. In regards to the animal shelter, this is the 4th meeting that we've had since the county has taken over. Each meeting we have folks come and they ask us to reconsider or put the bid back out so it could be rebid, renegotiate, whatever terms may be used. And I think it's fair to say, sitting here, that the commission has no interest in doing that. I personally am not in favor of putting this back out to bid. Our concern, all of our concerns, I do believe in this room, are for the care and well-being of the animals. And the county commission is doing that. I know somebody contradicted a report that said that we only killed, or there were 3 animals put down. There were 3 animals put down. You can believe it or not believe it. There's nothing being falsified. There were 3 animals. I can be specific on what each one of them were. But the well-being of the animals will be taken care of by the commission. And for the folks who, you're more than welcome to call us, but if you're calling us and wanting us to reconsider putting it back out for bid, I'm not personally interested in doing so. The commission will continue to run it the way we have run it for the last 2 months. If it ever comes to the point that 2 of the 3 of us sitting here decide to do so, then that will change. But I feel that, and I think I'm probably speaking for the other 2, there is no interest in doing so. So I just want to leave it at that. Thank you.
I only have one quick item. I don't know what number it was. The letter from PETA, one of the largest, if not the largest, animal rights organization in the world. 17,000 members in West Virginia, it was what the letter says. I wasn't going to read it. I would just like to encourage the public and the press to take a look at that letter. That's all. Okay. With that, gentlemen, the next meeting.
Gentlemen, would you consider moving the next meeting from September 1st at 2:30 until September 8th, which is the second Thursday at 2:30, if it would work for you? I know we'll be right back in here on the next day at 8 o'clock, but...
Well, since you don't work, I guess it's up to me. Retired.
Is that jealous?
I am jealous.
I never did get the announcement. July 1st was my last day at Wooden Steel, so
Yeah.
I can actually. These meetings are a little bit easier for me to do now, so I'm okay with it.
All right.
Anytime.
For us working people, yeah, that'd be fine. So we're going to move it. The motion is to move it to the
Second Thursday, September 8th, 2:30.
September 8th at 2:30. We need to vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? September the 8th, 2:30 is the next meeting. Move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.